I stood in the middle of the Heritage, my own restaurant, wearing a server's uniform that felt more like a costume. A tray of champagne flutes balanced in my hands as the Ashfords, my wife's family, watched me with thinly veiled disdain. Tonight was for Miles, my brother-in-law, celebrating his promotion to senior partner at some Manhattan firm. They'd chosen my restaurant not out of respect, but convenience, and the assumption I'd cut them a deal. I wasn't even supposed to be serving. Noah, my manager, called an hour ago saying we were short-staffed, so here I was, Ken Ward, founder and owner, reduced to a waiter in his own dream. Clarissa, my wife, was across the room, smiling at her parents like she didn't hear the whispered insults. That's Clarissa's husband? The waiter? The worst part? She didn't even flinch. I built this place from nothing. Every reclaimed oak table, every brass fixture, every sizzle from the open kitchen carried a piece of me. But to them, it was just a backdrop for their fancy party. Miles, slick and smug in his tailored suit, caught my eye. "Hey, keep the drinks coming," he said with a grin. I swallowed my pride and nodded. What else could I do? Start a scene? Tell them I paid for half the booze? Their judgment stung, more than I'd admit. Clarissa's parents never approved of me or the life I chose. To them, success came with titles and stock options, not a man in an apron chasing flavors and late-night dreams. She used to believe in me. Back when the Heritage was just a sketch on a napkin, back when we'd talk about building a life on our own terms. But somewhere between then and now, she started echoing their doubts. "Why not go back to finance?" she'd ask. "Why make everything so hard?" Because this place wasn't just a job. It was me. I moved through the room, placing canapes and clearing plates while their voices wrapped around me like smoke. She could have done better. Such a shame. I told myself I didn't care. But I did. I cared too much. Then I heard Miriam, Clarissa's mother, say it. "It's embarrassing. My daughter deserves better than a man who serves for a living." I froze. Clarissa said nothing, just stared at the floor. I wanted to leave, to walk out and never come back, but I couldn't do that to Noah or the staff. They were family, the kind that stuck by you when no one else would. So I kept moving. Tray after tray. Smile after forced smile. I reminded myself that I'd built this place from blood and grit, not privilege. I wasn't some failure. I was the reason any of them had a place to toast their golden boy. They saw a waiter. But this restaurant, this dream, it was mine. And no amount of whispers could take that away. The Heritage glowed under warm lights, alive with laughter and clinking glasses. I built this place from nothing, every brick, every recipe, with Jonas and Priya by my side. But as I watched my wife laugh with her family, her back to me like I wasn't even there, I couldn't shake. The fear that I hadn't just built a dream, I'd sacrificed my marriage to do it. Miles, my brother-in-law, was the man of the hour, new senior partner, the Ashfords' golden boy. They picked my restaurant for the party not out of respect, but because it was trendy and convenient. I wasn't supposed to work tonight, but Noah, my manager, had called in a panic, so I put on the black shirt and stepped back into the trenches. Out there, I was invisible, just the help. Clarissa didn't even look at me. Her parents, Dorian, and Miriam watched me like I was dirt on their shoes. "She married down," Miriam whispered, loud enough to sting. Clarissa stayed silent. I'd spent years trying to earn their approval. Gifts, favors, dinners, none of it mattered. To them, I'd thrown away a real career for a vanity project, a quaint little restaurant. To me, it was everything. I escaped to the kitchen, the scent of garlic and thyme grounding me, the chaos familiar, comforting. In here, I was home. Out there, I was a failure in their eyes, and lately, maybe even in my wife's. Then it happened. A new server dropped a bottle of red wine. It shattered, staining Miriam's dress like a crime scene. The room froze. She exploded, insulting Sam, Noah, the whole place. I stepped in, calm but firm. "I'll handle it," I said. She sneered. "You? You're handling this?" Miles laughed. "A waiter in your own house? That's rich." I didn't flinch. "Just helping out." Miriam called me shameful. Dorian told me I didn't belong. Clarissa said nothing, just stared at the floor, her silence louder than their insults. I wanted to walk out, but I didn't. This was my place, my name on the sign. I'd earned this, even if they couldn't see it. As I called for towels and club soda, the front door opened. A hush swept through the room. Someone important had arrived. Miles straightened. Dorian stood taller. I turned to look. It was a man I'd only met once, but the second he stepped inside, I knew everything was about to change. And I was ready. I stood in the middle of the heritage, wine still at my feet, Miriam's words, "My daughter married down," echoing like gong. The room was silent. Clarissa kept her eyes on the floor. I was ready to disappear when the front door swung open and the atmosphere shifted like a storm rolling in. Lawrence Maddox, CEO of Maddox Capital, silver hair, sharp presence. And he was heading straight for me. Miles practically launched himself into the man's path. "Mr. Maddox, welcome. Reserve the best table." Maddox barely looked at him. His eyes found me, and he smiled. "Ken Ward, what a surprise." He gripped my hand like we were equals. "Catered my anniversary last fall. Best meal I've had in 20 years. I blinked, stunned. I remembered the event. Just didn't know it meant anything. "You've built something special here," he said. "Don't let anyone tell you different." The weight of the Ashfords' judgment began to crack. I glanced at Clarissa. Still silent, still unreadable. Her parents stared, stunned. For the first time all night, I breathed. Miles tried to recover. "I didn't realize you knew each other." Maddox smiled politely. "It's not history. It's respect. Ken's got a gift." He gestured to the dining room, the oak tables, brass lights, the open kitchen I'd poured my soul into. I felt something shift inside. Validation, clarity. Then came the question. "You ever think about expanding? I know people who'd love to invest." I gave the same answer I always did. "Maybe someday. Right now, I'm just trying to keep the lights on." He grinned. "You're doing more than that. This place has soul." When he left to join his table, the crowd slowly came back to life. But now, their stares felt different. Miriam stood as I passed. "We're so proud of you, Ken. We were just saying." I stopped. "Thanks," I said flatly. Nothing more. Dorian chimed in. "Didn't know you had connections like that." I shrugged. "Just doing my job." Then came Clarissa's voice, soft, careful. "Maybe you could give Miles a stake. Keep it in the family." That stopped me cold. A partnership? With the man who mocked me all night? Who treated my restaurant like a prop? I looked at her and saw something I hadn't before. Not malice, but desperation. Like she thought this was how to make me acceptable again. How to make me fit their world. And I laughed. A sharp, unfiltered laugh that silenced the room. "You're kidding, right?" I said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "After years of treating me like I'm nothing, now you want in because someone important shook my hand?" I turned to Clarissa, steady now. "I don't need your help. I don't need you to fix me. This place, this life, it's mine. And if you can't see the value in that, that's on you." I walked away, back to the kitchen. The doors swung shut behind me. The noise of the party faded. Noah glanced up, didn't say a word, just nodded. I let out a breath I hadn't, realized I'd been holding. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not because they finally saw me, but because I no longer cared if they did. The morning light filtered through the Heritage's windows, casting long shadows across the polished oak tables. I moved through the dining room in silence, checking napkins, adjusting chairs, breathing in the scent of coffee and baking bread. A new day, a clean one. It had been a week since the party, since I laughed in my wife's family's faces, blocked their numbers, and sent her mother that pearl set with a note that said everything I needed to say. They tried to reach me, of course, through friends, through vague social media posts, through empty dinner reservation requests. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I wasn't playing their game anymore. Word of that night had spread. The restaurant was busier than ever, booked out, buzzed about. Critics sniffing around. Lawrence Maddox's handshake still echoed, in the walls. And yet, none of it mattered as much as the quiet, the absence of noise, the absence of needing to prove myself. I still thought about her, about Clarissa, about the version of her that used to sneak into the kitchen late at night, laughing as she stole bites off the cutting board. I missed that her, but not the silence from the party, not the way she watched me fall and said nothing. People had opinions about what I did. Some called it brave, others cold. I didn't care. I hadn't done it for applause. I did it to survive, to protect the one thing I had left that was mine. This place, this life. The Heritage wasn't just a restaurant. It was the proof that I didn't need their table, their rules, or their approval. I'd built my own. And for the first time in years, I wasn't apologizing for it. If anyone asked why I walked away from them, from her, I wouldn't explain, wouldn't justify. I chose this life because it felt true, even when it hurt. I wiped down the bar, the surface smooth beneath my hand, and thought, you don't need their seat. You can build your own table. I had, and it was enough.